Welcome back to the Men's Roundtable Series podcast. I'm your host and moderator, Mr. U. In the building, we got some guys that are ready to talk about some men's issues. How you fellas doing today? Everybody snowed in?
Yep.
Wow. Snow is getting everybody. Wow, this is crazy, man. But anyways, you guys that are watching for the first time, upper right-hand corner of your screen is a QR code. You can grab that to catch all of our shows up to this point. We're a monthly Men's Roundtable Series podcast show, so we do 60, 90 minutes one day a month talking about men's issues. Safe space for you guys that are watching and listening. Drop your comments in the comment section on Facebook or YouTube. We'll to hear from you guys and your thoughts on what we're talking about and on the men's issues where you are. So look forward to hearing from you guys real quick. But let's go ahead and jump into the topic. All right, so we're talking about the power of perception. I think it's a really big deal for men, but I want you guys to help us flesh out the idea that when I say perception, just real quick around the board, what do you guys think of? What comes to mind when I say perception for you guys as men? Go ahead.
I'll jump in there. I say perception is not truth, right? But it definitely drives behavior more powerfully than truth. So that's kind of my idea of what perception is.
Perception is feeling.
Go ahead.
We're getting some bad echo here. Perception's feeling, guys. It's all about how you feel about it. It's got nothing to do with reality.
Okay. Well,
I would say perception is vantage point. From my vantage point, I see it this way. From your vantage point, you see it that way. Don't mean mine is right and yours is wrong. It's just your position.
Yeah, I definitely agree as well. Perception, some say is reality, but until you see that reality within the reality of that situation, is it really reality? Yeah.
Perception is ultimately what we, as all of us on here, I see podcast creators, I see coaches, I see leaders, I see men following after the heart of God. That's the perception that we present to the rest of the world. And that it's like whether, everyone presents something, everyone presents some level of perception of who they are to the public and to others in their circle and everything else. And the real question is how close to reality is it? And that's the problem. And that's the difference and the hardness of discernment, I think, that we have in this world, because now with all of our technological advances, I can present something that could be totally false and you'll never know it. And that's the hard thing that we've got to deal with in life, I think.
Definitely. Our friend of the show, Dr. B, is in the house. Told me it's nice here in Denver. You need to stop that lie. You know it's not nice in Denver. I could get more snow than all of us combined out there, man. But good to see you, Dr. B. Thanks for jumping in the comment section. We appreciate that, man. So, perception is not truth. Let's be real about that. But it does drive behavior. A lot of time it drives behavior more powerfully than truth does, which is kind of weird. I mean, as a whole, maybe not you guys, but men frequently make decisions based on how they interpret situations. It's not about what's actually going on in their life. It's how they perceive it, how they see it. How does that, in your opinion, how does that misperception influence your decisions in your relationships?
I'll jump in on that if that's all right.
Yes.
The perception thing, when I think of that, it's what we strive for, in that we want everybody to perceive us a certain way. It's what we're trying to accomplish every day. But then it also is our biggest downfall, because that's all we worry about is how we're looked at. And I think, to answer your question, you right here, in the way that's the way we're perceived is something that we worry about way too much. It's something that we spend almost our entire lives working on, I think, these days more than ever, through social media, through, our businesses, especially folks like us who are on here, who are very visible all the time with what we do. We're constantly on a camera. We're constantly behind a mic. And so that ends up being, I think too often we make decisions based on how that perception is going to be affected instead of simply making the decision based on what's right in the bigger picture. And I think that that's something that we all have to contend with on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Christopher, anybody else? Unmute yourself, Bill.
Gotcha.
Come on, Professor.
I ask my students all the time when we talk about perception in the interpersonal communication class, do they care how they're perceived? Should you care how you perceive? And there's a mixed bag of answers. Yes and no. It depends on who you're trying to impress or who you're trying to think about in regards to should it matter. People at the grocery store, do you care what they think of you, how you dress, how you walk in there? People at work, your supervisors, your boss, it should matter because they holding the keys, right? So it's so subjective and it's so individual. Should you care? Should you not care? And at a certain extent, every time people, all of us, wake up in the morning, we select what we're going to wear, how we're going to dress, how we look, how we present. So when somebody tells me they don't care how they're perceived, I ask questions. Really? Why'd you put that on this morning? Why'd you select this color? Why'd you select this brand, this style? You know, and it just forces them to kind of think, dang, maybe I do care about how I'm perceived and I'm willing to admit it.
Just a wee bit.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good, man. Thanks, dude.
I just love, number one, I just want to, Professor Steve, I see that drill sergeant hat in the back. And so I absolutely, there's that perception that, yeah, absolutely, right. When certain images or certain things come into your mind, it brings a perception. And so I already know or have a perception, having been through basic training myself in my 13 years in the military and all of that. There's a perception that comes with that. There's a perception that comes with everything that we do. And just like you said, somebody that says that they don't have any care about their perception. Well, if you're wearing just your PJs to Walmart, well, I get it. And there is a level that I think in our society, some people are trying to say, I don't care about my perception. And I think we're losing the art of actually having some level of care. Like you said, do you care about the perception you have in front of your boss? Right? Absolutely. Yeah. Are you trying to keep your job? All right. Nowadays with the economic situation that we got, you can't mess around with that stuff. But then the other part of it, as a lot of us on here specifically with podcasts and everything else, and we're presenting ourselves as also a level of influence. Your presentation also equals, do you command respect? Do you bring in a level of having that presentation to say, yes, I'm somebody you should either listen to or consider compared to everybody else out there? And so presentation helps bring all of that out. Of course, there's different levels of that. We need to maintain that there's also an authenticity, though. If I'm perceiving that you are absolutely being disingenuous throughout your presentation, it's all about the lights. It's all about the show. It's all about you're saying the fancy words. You might as well have just got all of that off of ChatGPT or something, and you're not presenting anything from the heart. Then that presentation will erode and you'll just be seen as fake. So there has to be some level of authenticity in your presentation for people to connect. Because at the end of the day, if me as a human being are able to connect with you as another human being and being genuine, then I lose that presentation of genuineness from you. And I think that that's a major aspect of all of this. And when it comes to relationships, that's the huge part of it. We're human beings that thrive and operate out of relationships with one another. And you have to have that. Have to.
As a point of clarity for us, I'm not really pivoting, but just I want to ask a question for you guys. Can you think of a time where your perception of a situation was totally proven wrong? Like you missed it, you were not accurate? Can you think of examples of that? Because I think our listeners and viewers, I think they get value when they hear us talk about this. We're really transparent about where we fail, where we don't get it right. Because a lot of men have lofty responsibilities on their shoulders, wherever they come from, their obligations. Hearing that might set somebody free today. So can you think about a situation where your perception of a situation was totally inaccurate? It was totally off of the mark? It can be a brief story, but just want to get you guys to share it real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say so for me, perception, how you look at yourself is critical.
I would say,
hold on.
Yeah,
hold on, Coach. Steven's on that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead,
Okay.
Steven.
Yeah, so basically how a man perceives himself is critical. It can help shape his life one way or the other. So for me, when I wrote my first book, I struggled with it at first because I didn't believe I was capable, right? I didn't believe I was worthy enough to put my thoughts, my struggles and things on paper. But then I had to quickly realize that it's not true. It's false. So how you look at yourself internally within is critical to how your life is shaped up.
Great to you. Good stuff, Steven.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as just military wise, we strive really, really, really big on, understanding that lives are at stake type thing. So perception, sometimes, as senior individuals, we see it in a whole different complexion than some of the juniors. One major thing is social media. We came from that old school era of you're not on social media like that at all. When I say like that, just meaning you're not showing your personal life per se, because you're a service member 24/7, and you're expected to adhere to the standards and all the good things. So now what we see a lot of is I have the uniform on, but at the same time, it's my perception of my life and how I want to do things. So it could get pretty crazy.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Want to jump in real quick?
So I'm going to keep it real vague, but it was kind of a hurtful situation.
Okay.
Where it was, and this is where even like perception in our church world can actually hurt us. When somebody is presenting themselves as to be somebody that is trying to be there and have your back, and you follow this person for a long time, and then all of a sudden they start using things that you opened up because you had a level of trust with them, right? Perception starts building trust. And that's the other area that we have to be cautious with, is that even I'm presenting a level of presentation to somebody else, and so therefore they start building trust in me. I have to handle that very well and careful. But when other people misuse that and then abuse that trust and then start saying, hey, I'm going to start flipping the script on you, I'm going to use things that you told me in private or in things like that and start weaponizing that against you. And I've had that happen. And that just changes instantly the perception of who that person truly is on the inside, and what their agendas and goals were is not genuine to what they presenting themselves as. And that's the thing I think we need to understand, how presentation equals into these other second and third order effects in life, and that we have a whole huge level of responsibility when we're somewhat of a public figure, or we're somewhat of somebody that is out in, even if it's just in your local community, if it's in your church or your congregation, that you're building trust with people. You may not even know their name because your congregation may be big enough, but you still hold somebody's trust, and not to misuse that. And I don't know, it brings a lot of lofty weight to the situation when we look at it in those terms.
Absolutely. We're talking about the power of perception. Dr. B dropped a comment that if someone tells you that they don't care about their perception, they're lying, as we are born to be in community or relationships. So it does matter. Thank you, Dr. B. Good stuff. Our guy Sharon in the house. Good afternoon, family. Sent you a message 3 months ago. I ain't heard back from you yet. What's that about? Talk to your boy. Talk to your boy.
Hey, can I jump in on Brian's comment real quick?
Of course, please. Yes, sir.
So I will agree to disagree with him on a lot of things there, because I think one of our biggest problems in today's culture is we care way too much about too many people's perception. We live in the social media age, and so we're hardlining likes and thumbs ups and all the good different social media crap. I care about my wife's perception of me. I care about my daughter's perception of me. I care about men I respect who are in my circle, but I don't give a crap about the majority of people's perception of me. And I host 5 podcasts, right? I don't actually care if you like me or if you like my show, because there are people who do. And I don't want you to like me because you like me because you have a wrong perception of me. I want people to listen to my show because I'm telling truth. I'm sharing valuable information. And I don't actually care what they care about me personally. The Mohawk is proof of that. Yes, we are hardwired to be community. My daughters like it. They picked this out. This is my 11 and 14-year-old, right?
I think you're amazing, Brent. Just to
But we are hardwired to community. The problem is we need to care about our real community, because all this online stuff is just nonsense. I don't care what Bob in Indiana has to say about the way my hair looks, because my daughters like it, right? So that's the dangerous thing when we start getting into perception, because it's all about feeling and emotion, right? I want to be judged based on truth. I want to be judged based on serving the God I love and trying to be what he wants me to be. I want to be judged on being the husband and father God means me to be. But anybody else, all these people on social media, I have horrible social media followings because I don't give a rip about people following me on social media, right? I know I'm supposed to as a content creator, but honestly, what Bob in Indiana thinks of me, I couldn't care less. So it's a very difficult line, especially as a creator, but in general, the fact that we care so much about what people we will never interact with in our lives think about us is making us stupid and weak.
Fair.
All right. You got to let me in on this, all right? Because I don't know where all this Indiana hate is coming from, bro. But I mean, hey, yo, yeah. All right. And it's Rory, not Bob. Okay. But let me just,
boy.
No, I love you guys, man. It's great. And I love the Mohawk, man. I think it's flashy. So, I mean, you got guts, bro. I love it. I wanted to piggyback on the comment, though, real quick. And that is just that I'm with Brent in a lot of ways, but it took me a while to get there. And so I think what happened with me, just to keep it real, is that I wanted to put out the perception that I didn't care how I was perceived. That was like a thing that I was striving for. It really did bother me that people didn't like me. And then I got all the hate when I first started my podcast. But I had to put out a persona of, I don't care what anybody thinks of me, because I had to somehow become stronger. Now, years later, I am where Brent is. I actually don't care. It doesn't bother me. I lose no sleep. It's all good. And sometimes it's even funny when I get the hate. But when I first started, it was really funny, because I wanted to have the perception. I wanted people to perceive me as someone who didn't care how I was perceived. And I think that a lot of us kind of have that goal until we get there, but it's a process. And, now I'm where Brent is now. I could care less, but it does take a minute.
Good.
Yeah, that I think all of those are great points. And what I gather from listening to the various perspectives is that it starts with self-concept, self-esteem. If you feel confident about who you are, the more and more you don't really care what other people think about you. But it's getting people to understand, getting comfortable with themselves and how they present what they do. It starts with self, and everybody's self-confidence or self-esteem isn't where ours is right now, because we've all been at a point in our lives where we struggled with how we identify, how we look, how we dress, and that kind of stuff. So tying the two together is really important for people as confident as Brett. Your self-confidence is through the roof. But then there's another, youngster out there who is thinking about wearing a mohawk, and he just is not feeling it because he, his classmates may clown him. And then when he sees somebody like Britt doing it boldly and wearing a mohawk boldly, now that can seep into that young fella and say, you know what? I see this guy doing it. He's comfortable. At some point, that young man can get comfortable wearing a mohawk and rocking it with power. So the self and perception can't be untied. They go together, in my opinion.
Copy that.
Yeah, I got to jump on that too, man. Because think about it from this perspective. And Yusef, you know this. If I start talking about Michael Jordan and LeBron right now, we all got a perception of that. If I start talking about I
got truth. That's what you mean?
Absolutely. If I start talking about Sam Darnold and Lamar Jackson, we all got a perception. So I agree with Stu. I also agree with Nick, and I also agree with my man with the mohawk, because every one of us, have something, like Dr. Arnold said in the chat, man, that you care about what someone may say. Like I could crack the code right now. At 17 years old, I used to smoke crack rock. So anyone's perception could be, well, I didn't. I've never done that. Okay, good for you, brother. Hey, you used to get high or whatever. Cool. But the reality is, I just took the power back by saying it.
Exactly.
So if someone gets in the chat right now and say, oh man, I won't listen to crack. Coach, my freaking, you know what? Bro, you used to smoke crack. Why would I listen to you? That perception goes back to, like he said, on a social media platform or whatever the case. I still have to look within and say, okay, I have to respect that person's thought and feeling on that in terms of how they perceive me. Oh, okay, I'm Muslim. I'm Christian. I'm a Buddhist monk walking from Texas to Washington, D.C. How's that perceived? Again, so we have a lot of these conversations. Stu and I talked yesterday for like 2 hours about these same principles of perception, of how certain things are viewed, how we internally, and it goes back to what you said, Stu. I'll pass the mic, but you said it, man. Interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication. Because as I can sit here today and think of the power in which that perception really moves the frequency. Again, we can talk it, but are we really living it, man? Is the truth of the matter. Someone just sent me 10 minutes ago the Plato, cave allegory. And I'm looking at that and I'm just sitting there like, wow, these gentlemen sitting in this cave is seeing this perception, that they thought was reality until one of them escaped out of the cave and then saw the real reality, the trees, the birds, the flowers, water. And then he went back down into the cave trying to convince those ones that, hey, man, it's up here. And they wouldn't rock with it. So again, the perception, you can only own your own perception. That's why I said at the beginning, in the Marine Corps, we harp on that, Steve Miller. I know your Army. I love the Army. We harp on, man, perception is reality. If a junior Marine sees you doing it, senior guy, then you just open up the floodgate for them to be able to want to do it. And there's truth to that. So again, but it still comes back to the within. So yeah, man, come on, you man, you always got these high power conversations, bro. That just get so, man, wow, it's crazy.
What we're doing out here? That's what I thought we were doing. Okay, so let's keep moving, man. But before I ask this question, buddy of mine, good friend of mine, military man, dropping in, first timer. Good to see you, Matt. These are the boys. Boys, you smack. All right, so this is not designed to be a counter to what you said, Brent and Rory. I want you to I'm not asking you to soften your stance either. I'm asking you to position it for somebody who may be in that place where they're struggling with that, because I personally think if you tell them, well, this is what I do, just do that, it probably won't work out very well for them. So how would you guys, and do that as brief as you can, so we can move, so we can pivot to the next part of the combo, but how would you position it for them, somebody who's maybe struggling with the idea of being liked so that they can, kind of get along in this podcasting game? What would you say to them, outside of your personal opinion about how you feel about, not caring? How would you help them to come to the right conclusions there? What would you say? Brent or Rory, whoever wants to go first. Jump in real quick.
Let me clarify the question. Are you asking, you just said podcast. Are we talking about podcasters specifically or just
social media, man?
Huh?
All of that. Everything.
You said podcaster, so I want to know who we're trying to address here.
Dude.
Both.
Podcasting / social media / media. I don't even care.
Go ahead, Brent.
Go ahead.
All right. For the general person listening who is outside of this insane life that we call content creation, because I do a whole show on how nuts this world is, because let's face it, we don't live normal lives. We talk on the radio or on the internet. Yay, our life does not look like most people. For people outside of that world, right? I heard this great idea the other day. Someone on YouTube, someone expressed it, and it's you have to look at life with perspective, right? So it's the 5-year rule. 99% of the people in your orbit will not be in your world in 5 years, period. And so you have to worry about your own love, how you feel about yourself, how you care about yourself, how you perceive yourself. And the 1% of those people, like your parents, your immediate family, your spouse, how they perceive you, and let everything else go, because 99% of those people aren't going to be in your life. They don't matter. It doesn't matter. They're gone. Who cares? The world moves forward without them, and you will too. And once you understand that, because I've lived all over the United States, I've moved from coast to coast, north to south, lived all over the place. And honestly, there are a handful of people in my life, other than my family, who have been in my life for more than 5 years. Very small handful. For the creators out there, it's really simple. You can be loved for what you're not, and it's only going to be around for a short time, because you can only live that lie so long. Or you can be loved for what you are, and you will find your tribe. You will find people who want what you're sharing, as long as it's authentic and legitimate and not a bunch of crap, right? You're not telling lies. But if you are sharing from your heart, doing your best to share with people, you will find your tribe. But if you try and sell out to get those clicks, likes, downloads, that's a short-lived life.
Mr. Brent, thank you. Rory, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I would tell somebody, who's in this position, who's starting off, that I get it. I was in the exact same spot. When I first started, it hurt. It bothered me, made me think, hey, I got to change what I'm doing because people don't like me. And if you do that, if you kowtow everybody else, then you're never going to get anywhere. If you try to be everything to everyone, you'll be nothing to no one. I would also tell folks that, the way that you get past that is by using a technique that I call bless, block, and delete. And, when you get the comment, for instance, that is like, oh, well, you this and you that and you suck and blah, blah, blah. You know what? You bless them because they're having a rough time in their own life, or they wouldn't be lashing out at you. You block them, okay, because you don't want their poison to spread to anybody else. And then you delete them because you don't need to keep looking at that. Get it out of your life and clear your head and go back to work. Eventually, it gets better. Every pain you experience in your life gets better at some point or less at some point. Stay the course. And if nobody is shooting at you, then you're not over the target. So you must be doing something right. There you go.
There you go. Good stuff. Thank you, guys. All right, so we're going to probably break the internet, or at least disturb some folks, because the men are going to talk about their emotions. I know this is going to be hard to understand, but not only do we have them, we're going to actually talk about them in this next question. So this is going to be crazy. So for you guys on the panel, what specific emotional state most often kind of messes with your perception or distorts your perception? What's the biggest challenge for you in that area? Is it anger, fear, pride, insecurity? What's that emotion that you have the biggest challenge with as it pertains to it kind of distorting your perception of things?
Yeah, I would say for me, anger definitely played a role in that. You know, I had unresolved emotions as a kid. Had the loss of my grandmother at a really early age of 7, and I didn't realize how much it impacted me throughout my childhood. So from an emotional state, you know, I was messed up. I was broken for a very long time.
Wow.
And it came out in different ways, you know, whether it be fighting all the time in school or just how I treated people, you know, in the wrong form of fashion back in the day. And that's where ego comes into play, right? I had to check myself at one point and put that ego aside and just become a better person.
Good stuff, man.
That's
Anybody else?
good. Yeah, I would definitely say, just as you know, I grew up in a military home. My dad, 27 years in the Army, and then 13 years in myself. So I grew up with this mentality of, you know, you got to accomplish the mission, you got to succeed, you got to go forward, and all of that. So I would say it's fear of failure, fear of just not making it, fear of like just, you know, being a failure in front of all the people I do care about, family,
Yeah.
friends, all of those that, you know, ultimately they're the ones that a lot of opinion does seep in and I listen to, right? Because we all have people that we take in their counsel, we take in their um, uh, all of that, and we want to be successful and do well, um, you know, in those lights. But there's a level of that you can't let that get in the way because then we'll never do anything. If you're scared
True.
of not succeeding, then you'll just sit on your couch and the only thing you'll succeed at is emptying the bag of Doritos, right? That's that's about it. So we can't let fear get in the way, and that's one reason why my podcast is called Valor and Vision. Valor meaning having the courage in the face of adversity. We're gonna have adversities in our life. We're gonna have adversities here on social media. We're gonna, you know, however that looks, whether it's your content creating for any of the platforms out there, you're doing a podcast, whatever the case may be, or all of it. We can't worry about that. I kind of also look at Proverbs 23, verse 9. Do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your words. And that's
Hmm.
part of the other area of that. We're on social media and podcasts and all of this and YouTube and everywhere. We are broadcasting to everyone. So you will run into those fools like Roy was talking about and those haters. And so therefore
Yeah.
do not speak in the hearing of the fool. Well, unfortunately, the way that this is set up, your voice will be heard by the fools, for he will despise the wisdom of your words, which of course that's the negative comment that you get. And
Yeah.
it's part of that. I love the one thing that, you know, as a Christ follower and as all of us, bless that person because yes, they are going through a hard time. They are going through something in their life where that for some weird reason brings them joy to bring hate on other people. And so they're definitely going through something. And
Exactly.
that's where it's like, hey, don't listen to that. But who do you listen to? Because we all have some voices in our life that we listen to. And make sure to listen to those. Make sure to hone in on those. Make sure to care about those and put those at a loftier weight in your life than some comment that has no face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No doubt.
I would say the emotion I struggle with, similar to what Nick just said, is the fear of disappointing those particular others.
Hmm.
I've always been driven not to disappoint those people who are in my circle. I never wanted to bring shame to my parents. I never wanted to bring shame to my family's name. And now, as an adult, and as I made my way through the Marine Corps, I never want to uh, disappoint my leadership. And then when I start getting in leadership, I never want to disappoint my subordinates. And it was a struggle for me, but I knew how I grew up and what that looked like, and I knew what I didn't want to do or didn't want to be in life. And that fear of failure, that fear of disappointing people, others started then turning inward. Now I don't want to disappoint me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it takes a while for people to get there. Some get there faster than others. But for me personally, that fear of disappointing particular others is something that I struggled with. And I still struggle with it to this day, if I'm being honest. Uh, the one thing that I cannot do is have somebody call my mama and say,
That's
What is
still
your-
happening.
what's wrong with that boy? You know, that's still in the back,
That's
deep
still going on?
in the back of my mind, bro. I'm thinking about that.
I'm gonna call your mama.
Oh my goodness.
So it did keep me on the straight and narrow from getting in trouble and doing
Yeah,
stuff, because
that's
I'm
fair.
thinking, man, if I get caught up, my mama gonna kill me, and I don't want that. You know what I'm saying?
All right, friend of the show, DL the Low Life says pride, pride, pride. If we look at the root of ego, need for success / fear of failure, anger, etc., we can trace them back to pride. Good stuff, DL. Thanks for watching and listening, brother. We love you, man. All right, so something you said, Stu, is making me kind of think about something now. What do you guys think? Well, what do you know are accountability structures that help you see things more clearly? Because we always talk about accountability on this show because many need to hear that more often than not because of where they are in life. So we're talking about perception. Heard what everybody was saying. Accountability. What do you have what kind of accountability structure do you have in place to kind of help you see more clearly when it comes to not reacting emotionally and being, I guess, rational and not walking in perception of what's actually going on? What do you have in place accountability wise?
I don't actually have like a set system in place.
You don't have a system?
I have a set group
Stop
of
that.
friends.
That's a system,
right? I got, yeah. I'm so you could call it a structure. I call it, I have like 2 or 3 people in my life that I pick up the phone and I call, and it's like, hey, this is what's going on, and I'm kind of freaking out, and I need someone else's perspective on this. I need an outside look on this. And in turn, I also try and be that for my friends. I got a call yesterday. My friend is going through some really rough seas right now. Like the storms in his life are hitting him from multiple angles. And he called me just freaking out. And we had like 4 different phone calls yesterday because like it's just wow. It was bad. And it was like, all right, we got to breathe. Let's take the emotion out of this. You're using some really strong language. Let's take the emotion out of this. Let's get the over the top reaction, right? I got it. We're freaked out. Let's slow that down and look at reality. Let's reframe this and look at honest reality. Is this in fact going to kill you? Is this in fact going to leave you destitute? Is this in fact going to XYZ, right? And put that in. And that's what I look for, right? That's why I have a very small circle of a couple of people. It's like, I know I can call you, Mr. U, and be like, hey, this is what's going on. And right now it's like drowning, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, yeah, but are you? I know it feels kind of like that right now, but are you? Yeah. And they nailed it in Crocodile Dundee years ago when he's like,
that's from the past.
Right. Oh yeah. Right. And she's explaining that her friend went to this therapist and they talked about it and everything was better. Now she's better. And he's like, doesn't she have any mates? Right. It's a difference in the idea of friends. I called those friends, the mates, the ones that I could call in the middle of the night and be like, yo, grab a shovel. Don't ask questions. Don't bring your cell phone. Right. Yeah. I called those friends when I need perspective.
Copy that. No, that's a good system. Michael dropped a comment on us, being careful of the company you keep. Well, that's really important on this. Thank you, Michael, for the comment. Appreciate you, brother. Who's up next with their response to that question about accountability structures? Who got that? Who's that?
Yeah, I'll jump in on it real fast. I'll go quick. The thing for me that I just started doing even just a couple years ago is, you guys seen that commercial about the Twix bar? Like, you need a minute. Oh, yes. And you like eat it for a second and they have to shut up. They can't react. It's a funny commercial, but it's based on a really important thing. I believe that you never let them see you weak. When it comes to the people that depend on you, you don't let them see you weak because they're depending on you for your strength all the time. Well, an emotional outburst that is in reaction to something is weakness. And that's how I look at it. So I always look at it and I go, look, I can act, but I can't react. So if something hurts me, if I feel wounded, if I feel pain, like I want to react to it, I stop. That is my red flag. The minute I feel that feeling, I stop. And whatever's coming to my mind or coming to my mouth does not get out because that's not the truth. That's not coming from a place of truth. And that's not coming from me. That's coming from my wounded inner child reaction to whatever just happened. And when you can stop and you can say to yourself, act, don't react, and you just literally take a minute before you let it out, before you say anything, before you go off, that solves 99% of the problems. Now, I may think about it and then still do the wrong thing, but at least I, gave myself a shot. But when you can put that in place, that's the biggest accountability measure that I've been able to put in place over the last couple of years. And it has helped my marriage and it has helped my relationship with my kids get even better.
Quick note of a point of reference. We got some questions that are really some hard hitting stuff. So we're going to move a little bit quicker. All right. I want everybody to get a chance to chime in some of this stuff. We got some comments here. I want to jump in real quick. Dio the Lowlife says, got to be aware of the Job friends. Job from scripture. That's a good reference. That kind of friendship is a interesting dynamic, if you will. Dr. B says accountability is so important, and sometimes we seek it when things are going wrong, but being proactive about accountability and making sure we're connected to people who can help us before things go wrong can be key. All right. Good stuff, Dr. B. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So answers for us. This is one of those hard-hitting questions. We always have them on our show. How do you think others perceive your leadership at work, at home, at church, etc., or all three areas? How do you think people perceive your leadership?
Well, fortunately,
I already know something bad's going to come.
I would say, fortunately for me, I get evaluated after every semester, after every class. Students leave their feedback, what they liked, what they didn't like, and some students are very honest because it's anonymous and they can be real and true about how they feel. And man, if you're getting assessed like that from somebody you are in charge of or somebody you have the responsibility to teach, that's the greatest measure for me. Am I doing this right? And if enough consistent comments lean towards me doing something not the right way, I pivot and I switch and I acknowledge, dang, you know what? I might not be doing this right. So I'm thankful that I do get those remarks, those comments. I'm not seeking validation and I'm not really adjusting my teaching style just to make students happy, but I am listening and I am paying attention to make sure I'm reaching the students where they are. And I'm also getting them to where I'm trying to get them, at the same time.
Got it. Good stuff. So thanks, man. Who's next?
I think for me, I would say the one thing that, and it is intentional, is to always, it's people first. It's caring about my people, and it's definitely, I'm the men's director and communications director at my church, and kind of leading a lot of the men. It's like, hey, ultimately, I'm here and I care about you. Right? We'll get the mission done. We'll do all the things that we need to do, and that's not a problem, because they realize I care about you, and that when push comes to shove, I've got your back at certain points, right? And so that lends into trust, and that lends into them also returning willing to put forth the energy when, hey guys, we need to put together something like this weekend. We have to put together we have so much ice everywhere at the church that we need to do. We're asking other businesses around, can we use your parking lot on Sunday? And we're going to be shuttling people around and doing all this. It's a completely new system. And I'm drawing men in to come together and say, hey, can we do this? Can we have a couple guys in their trucks be a shuttle and help navigate parking, which we normally never have to do? And they're not a problem. We got you. Let's do this. Let's get this done. Versus, who's this guy? Forget you. I'm not paying attention to you. And it's when we care about one another. I think that's a major aspect. At least that comes from me, because I do. I care about them.
That's good. That's good, man. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think for me, the key is being consistent as a leader, and having integrity, right? Mm-hmm. I've got about 20 leaders up under me in the role that I currently have, and it's showing up and being consistent every day. I do solicit feedback as well during like performance reviews and things like that, to where I may give them feedback on how they perform, but I also ask them as well, like, is there anything I can change, or what's your perception, or how are you evaluating me as your leader, so that I can help improve as well. So I think that's key, is soliciting that feedback on a consistent basis, so to keep you in alignment.
I love that. Good stuff, Stephen. Good stuff. All right. So check this out. So our boy, also a friend of the show and fellow panelist, Lee Freebird's in the house. He said, is someone's perception of you that important? What is the value of evaluation? That could be open question for those that mention evaluation in their answers. Somebody want to take a stab at that real quick, especially that last question, the value of evaluation?
You can't get better without feedback.
Huh?
It's that simple. You can't get better without feedback.
Yeah.
If you can't measure it, you can't improve it.
Yeah.
And so the value of evaluation is simply that. If you're honest with yourself and you want to be the very best at whatever you're doing, whether that's being the best leader or the best at your job or the best person you can be, you can't get better if you can't measure it. Evaluation is critical.
Fair enough. All right. Let's pivot a little bit. So you guys are all men here, real red-blooded American men. Nothing soft about any of you guys. You guys are true men, and I love you for that. What would you say is a cultural perception of masculinity that you accepted without even questioning whether it was legit or not? A cultural perception of masculinity that you accepted, didn't question it, you say, you know what, it's the truth. I believe it automatically without any kind of questions. Rory, you had your hand up. Go ahead. You first.
Yeah, I'll start because that for me, the very first one and the one that I still kind of hang on to is, we don't cry. You can't cry. No, you can't let anybody see you cry. If you cry, you're weak. That's that. Forget about it. And, over the years, I've kind of changed that into you can't cry in weakness. But, when my kids were born, I cried. I don't care. I'll cry for happiness. But, that's pretty much it. And honestly, because it was one of the first things that got hit, it still sticks with me. I won't cry in front of people, like, ever. So it's strong.
Okay. It is.
Yeah,
strong.
I totally disagree with that. Crying.
I didn't say it was right. Yeah, I remember I didn't say it was right. It was what was the first thing that hit me? Well, that was something that I bought without even asking.
Yeah, and that's what I'm disagreeing with. The perception that a man crying is being weak. Man, there's so much power in being vulnerable, and our society has told us, especially as men, boys don't cry. Be tough. Be this. Now you have adults walking around with emotional scars because they've always had to keep that stuff within instead of letting it out and being vulnerable. And there's danger in being vulnerable and showing people you have vulnerabilities and weaknesses, because there are people who will try to take advantage of your vulnerabilities. But using that as an excuse to say, well, I ain't gonna let nobody see me cry, is that really healthy in the development of young men and teaching young men, brother, if you are hurting, it's okay to cry. Now, after you finish crying, what are we going to do? How are we going to get over this hurdle and this obstacle?
Put in that work.
So,
that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I tell man, cry. Let it out, bro. Let it out, Rory.
Man, I've been scared to speak. Is the mic still sounding crazy? You
sound amazing.
I took the headphones off. I can't even hear Steve, so I don't know if it's the snow or whatever. But man, listen, I respect you, Roy. But man, I cried yesterday, bro, and I'll tell you why. Because Robert Lytle, a good Marine buddy of mine, sent me a video of him sitting in the car, and he said, "Clay, this is for you." And he started praying. And man, that boy prayed his freaking butt off, dog. And he prayed for my family. He covered me. He's sitting down in Frisco, Texas, like, hey, Father God, help the Clay family. Like, he don't know the intricate details of what I'm going through here in his household every day unless I tell him. But just that covering and it being right and exact on time when that prayer came. And man, I couldn't help it. Now, Roy, I was by myself. It wasn't like a crowd of people watching me cry and whatnot. But that vulnerability I'm not afraid to say it right now. That man, that was the real breakthrough, bro. You know, that breakthrough of that moment of just like, man, like you said, man, crying when you see the kids.
Oh no!
Bum, bum,
I want to hear about the kids.
I'm about to cry, man. I can't believe he just dropped like that now.
Oh man! Wow. Well, we're gonna keep the train moving. Some comments from our listeners today. Mark Miller said, "Preach." I don't know who he was talking to, but I'm probably talking about Rory. But I'm not sure. A friend of mine from the Daughter Podcast, fantastic podcast about fathers and daughters. What about the crying that means complaining? I think don't cry many times means keep it together. What you guys think? So you guys can tackle that question. It's a valid question. Rory, you want to touch that since you're the expert on not crying?
Wow. All right.
I'm
Man.
just kidding.
All right. Yes. And, thank you, brother. Daughter Podcast, friend of mine who is going to be on the show one day, I hope. That's exactly right. My whole thing is again, never let them see you weak. I got no problem if you want to cry in private. I got no problem if you want to cry with your brothers. But when you openly are crying and that type of thing and being that kind of vulnerable in front of your wife, in front of your kids, when they're looking for somebody to be strong, I just think that's hard. So again, I'm not judging anybody else, man. The question was, okay, what is one piece of masculinity that you just accepted without question? I said,
right.
Hey, so I'm not telling everybody else don't cry. All right. I'm just saying I don't. You know what I mean? And that's just how it is.
I appreciate that because I am a crier
Right,
at times. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. I appreciate you, brother, with the question.
Same thing. Good stuff here. All right, Lee Freeberg's back in the game. He said, crying in public is not the same as crying in private. Fair enough. I mean, if you're sitting at the grocery store, supermarket crying, I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. That's different. Unless it's just like, you stand at the checkout line and you ain't got enough money for the food you just bought. So okay, that's different to me. But just crying random, I might feel the uncomfortability like you guys too. But I'm not against that. I'm in touch with my emotions, man. All right. So DL said, "Rory, you're making me cry right now." Okay. I don't see an LOL after it, so I don't know if he's like joking because sometimes he does jokes. I don't know what to do with that. I'm gonna leave that alone. Let's move on. All right. So tell me, what perception in your life needs to be reframed? Rory, you can't use the answer you just used just now. You can find something else, okay? Don't use that. But what perception in your life currently has to be reframed? This is men being transparent. That's what we do on this show. There's a perception in your life right now, and you probably know what it is off the top of your head. You already know. Came right to the front. Needs to be reframed. No question asked. You can't get around it. You got to change this. What's that perception? Go ahead.
Can I throw a curveball into this question?
Don't change the question.
Perception that needs to be changed. It's not a perception, and it's our confusion with perceived value versus perception. We have a lot of things we think have to do with our perception, and we're making is perception. It's not. It's perceived value, and it alters the way we perceive things all the time. And so we have to separate that out when we start talking about perception, right? Because we have a lot of things in our life that need changed perception-wise, because we're not actually doing perception. We're judging based on perceived value, not our actual emotional feeling towards it. Love, man, love. I do it just for you.
It just give me an answer. You change the question, and I still don't have an answer. Give me an answer to the new question. The new question, the old question. I mean, just give me one answer. That works for me. Do you have an answer for your new question that you just posed?
Well, that is the answer. We need to change and evaluate and actually get real about ourselves, because a lot of our perception is skewed by perceived value.
Okay. Brent out here starting stuff. I didn't say it now, just to be clear. I didn't say it. All right. Who's next?
I think that's a hard question to answer a lot of times for men, because we're so conditioned to move forward and not necessarily reflect a lot of times. So I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm just saying that I think that's what kind of gets us stuck at times, is we like to move forward. We need to be tough. You know, you can't go back and reflect some of the things that you really need to work on. I would say for me specifically, not having to control everything, right? I think is a big thing that I need to continue to work on and understand that God is ultimately in control and continue to lean on him. That's the key for me.
That's a good one. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it. It's on a YouTube channel, so it's kind of, I forgot that it was on there. I'm like, if I had thought about it before I streamed it, I wouldn't let it be on there because I'm like, you guys don't want to see this, but maybe you do. But Dr. B, if he's still in here, he knows. He had a guest on his show. This is the antithesis of everything that we believe on this show. The total stark opposite. It's not even just offensive. It was odious, to say the least. So we have to kind of just deal with mindset. And so what you said kind of just hit me, Stephen, that, you know, there's some things that we got to just come to terms with and just really deal with. So that was a really, really bad example of that. But I like that we're being transparent about what we know we're not doing quite right, because men have been perceived as somebody who has to be dominating and controlling, like the gentleman I'm talking about. Has to control every situation. Everything is his, but he gives nothing. Everything is to be given to him, but he gives nothing out. You know, and that kind of mindset is where a lot of stuff comes from. So for you to say that, Stephen, about dealing with that mindset, not having to be in control of everything, that's refreshing. It doesn't mean give the reins over everybody else. It just means, you know, you stay in your lane, you do what you're supposed to be doing. That's your responsibility. And let everybody else handle theirs without you having to control and nitpick and everything that goes on. So check out the episode. If you want to know about it, I'll tell you offline, not on the air. I'll show you where you can find it on our channel. And you can watch it for yourself and be grieved like I am. But anybody else have an answer for that question?
I want to piggyback off of Steve a little bit there, because I think I think there's a bigger concept of what does strength actually mean. You know, and I think that we've looked at, and one, we can dive into all the foolish things that us men love to do, right? There's if you don't drive a truck, you're not a man, right? You can have all these different sayings. I actually watched a video today, and this guy had this shirt, and it says, "He who dies with the most amount of tools wins," right? Another kind of just a manly thing of saying, you know, those that love to build things, well, that's what the mark of a man is, to have all these cool tools, right? And so we can have all these like superficial things, and we all kind of know those are funny, but don't live by that. But the Word of God talks about having wisdom and knowing when and when not to do certain things. And strength is actually having a lot more of that wisdom. Some people think that being a strong man means I just go around and punch anybody in the face, whoever disagrees with me, and look, I win because I'm strong. And actually, you're emotionally weak is who you are when you act like that, you know? And so being able to control your emotions makes you strong. Knowing when and when not to cry, knowing when and when not to punch, knowing when and when not to speak. Those types of things make you strong, because having strength up here can have so much more power in the world than strength right here. So
I love it.
That's
good stuff. Dr. B said, my wife says crying is one of the parts she loves about me. That's beautiful. I love that, brother. I love that.
Well said. To answer the question, something I try to practice on a daily basis is putting myself in the shoes of somebody else before coming to a judgment about them, having empathy for their situation. Why are they acting the way they're acting? Why are they doing the things that they're doing? And then trying to help them if I can help them. But it's really hard sometimes not to look immediately at a situation and start stereotyping or prejudging. And I have to constantly remind myself, okay, what if you were in their shoes? How would you react? How would you respond? How would you handle this situation? And that's a battle for me all the time, because I am constantly surveying and sizing up everybody in every situation, everywhere I go. And that's probably the military brainwashing, you know, situational awareness. And, you know, where's the nearest exit? Who in here, if they, you know, if something jump off, who am I going to have to knock out to get out of here?
I'm doing that.
Right.
I wasn't even in. I'm doing
right.
that.
So and that translates over into just your observation and stereotyping of people. So I definitely try to be empathetic to what people are going through and why they're doing what they're doing.
Copy that. All right. Mark has 2 questions. This one, we already answered that early in the episode. The answer is yes, it is more powerful in today's world. I'm not saying it's right, but that's the case there. But your first question, we're going to try to tackle that for you. How much does society program our perception of success, and how do we break free from that? Anybody want to jump in on that real quick?
Yeah, I got you.
Come on.
Society programs everything out about our perception of success and lies to you constantly. Almost everything society is telling you what is success is a lie. And they will barrage you with it in the media, in movies, television, music. It's all loaded with a bunch of crap to tell you that this is exactly what the American dream is. And this is what success looks like. Until you actually define it for yourself, right? Because success is a self-defining thing. It's not something that what's successful for Rory, what's successful to Yusuf, what's successful to all these guys is going to be different than what I think is successful necessarily. Now, I say that a lot of us are probably actually on the same page. That's why we're on this panel. So we probably have a lot of areas where we overlap and agree on that. But you have to define what success looks like. Is success having the time you want with your family, controlling your time, or is it actually being rich, right? We all say we want to be rich. We all want to be stupidly rich. Why? Because we all want to control our time. It has nothing to do with being rich. It has to do with controlling what we do, when we do it, and how we do it, right? So everything society tells you about being rich, about being successful, comes to power and being rich. It's really not. If I make a good enough living where I can go and support my family and take vacations with them and spend time and go to my kids' events and go on date nights with my wife, that's pretty stinking successful, especially in the modern era where it generally takes 2 or more. So you have to define what success looks like to you and just assume that society's lying about everything else.
Steve, is that the Mark Miller that we know, Steve?
Yeah, no doubt it is.
Hey, Mark. Hey, you hear us out there, bro. You are extremely successful, young man.
Yeah.
I respect you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You know, and you've been that since a young pup coming up, and now you're a man, and you're out here, you're making things happen. You know, you're here with us right now. Think about how many individuals right now at 1 p.m. on Saturday, the 31st of January, is somewhere, God knows where. But you are here with like-minded individuals, learning, grasping, asking those questions. And that's what real success is, man. You can't do it alone. No matter what, bro, you cannot do it alone. And Brent's right, man. Like it's your knowledge of self. It's how you define that knowledge of yourself with the creator, with like-minded individuals. You can't walk in the room and ever think you're the smartest individual in the room. Shout out to Mark, man. You know I love you. Neonce love you. Much love to you, brother. Always.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off that a little bit. So a lot of men, you know, they pursue approval from other people, right? I think that's the key to this too. But instead, you know, they neglect, you know, their purpose, right? So this question kind of ties perfectly into the book that I wrote. It's called From Silence to Success. And for me, I broke free because success for me is being able to wake up every day and look in the mirror. And I think that's critical to anybody trying to break free. Can you look at yourself every day when you wake up?
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely love that.
Go ahead and roll.
Go ahead, Nick.
Go ahead.
No, you got it.
Real quick, I think just the breaking free part, it's you know, the whole saying comparison is the thief of all joy. Stop comparing yourself. Stop looking at social media and just like you said, Steve, like look at the mirror, right?
Yeah.
Are you doing better today than yesterday, even by 1%? Then keep doing that. And keep going after what you know you need to be doing, what God has put on your heart, the vision that God has put before you to go after. That's success. And don't measure yourself off of the social media or any other way that you can compare yourself to others.
No.
Right? Every man has their own different path, and no path is, you know, as long as it's aligned with Christ, you can't go wrong.
I love it. Hope you guys are
That's it
finding
right there.
value in this conversation. I hope you guys are finding value in it. Go ahead. Roy, you want to drop something real quick, man? Roy?
I just wanted to say I agree with everybody, and that's where I was going to go, is where Nick just went. The one thing society leaves out is your relationship with Christ, man. And that's the whole thing. The perception society gives you is that it's all in your control. And when you finally realize that it's not, and that it's his plan, and you surrender only to him and to that, then I think you're on your way to actual success.
Love that, man. So hope you guys are finding value in this conversation, because perception is a real thing, and we all got to deal with it. This is our final question, and this is for not only for our panel, but for the listeners and viewers who are chiming in the comment section. Thank you all for watching and listening. Love you guys so much. Appreciate you. So the question is, how would you redefine strength for the next generation of men? If you're a woman, you can refrain from answering. But if you're a man, we'd love to hear your answer. How would you redefine strength for the next generation of men? Because people are watching, and who knows how vulnerable they are in their life right now. Who knows how much they need to have conversations like this? They may need support and accountability, and maybe don't have it. What would you say to these guys? I want to hear from everybody on the panel, and then we're going to go ahead and close out, get you back to your Saturday afternoon. I'll be watching the snow, so you guys can have fun doing what you're going to be doing. But how would you redefine strength for the next generation of men? Come on, let's go. Popcorn style. Come on.
I would say you have to have emotional intelligence, right? We kind of tapped on that earlier in the show. I think you need to continue to pursue that, work on that, and then to go back to what we discussed earlier, having that circle of folks that can hold you accountable, right? Do you have like-minded people surrounding you that's not going to be yes men or women, that's going to hold you accountable? I think that's critical as well.
Good stuff, Stephen. Who's next?
I think I'll jump in real quick and just kind of get, first of all, there's a level of, I disagree with this question, because the generations don't change, right? The word of God has been true for many, many, many generations. And I would say dive into that. The wisdom, knowledge, the understanding, the heart, the fruits of the spirit, dive into what the word of God is telling you. And that hasn't changed from generation to generation. We need to tap into that which is eternal. And as long as you do that and you listen to the word of God, I think you can't go wrong.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on one second. That should be defined strength, not redefined.
I wouldn't redefine it. There's no redefining strength. That is strength.
Redefined is a mistake. It should be defined.
That's right.
That's what's happening. So your argument is moot now. I respect what you said, though. Who's next? Sorry about that, y'all. Should be defined, not redefined. My apologies. Go ahead. Who's next?
All right, I'll jump in. Everybody's gonna be quiet. Cool. I have had to do this because I have young men as sons, and so they are that generation right now, and they're all getting ready to have babies, which will be the next generation. And the most important thing that, oh yeah, it's awesome, man. Get to be a grandpa. But anyway,
I got 3 great grandchildren now, so go ahead and top that if you like.
I got a long way to go, brother. I got a long way to catch you guys. But the things with them, honestly, that I've tried to instill in them in terms of the next generation and what they have to do, that I think maybe have gotten lost over the time frame here, is that you have to lead by example. And I think that these guys have to step up. They have to lead by example. It's not enough just to have faith. You have to steward that. You have to disciple your own family and your own children at the kitchen table. You have to make sure that you're leading by example in your faith so that they pick that up. And I think everything that we talk about today, if we just think it and we know it, that's fine. But if we aren't doing it, if we aren't living it, and if we aren't showing the people who depend on us that this is the way you live your life, then I think a huge piece is lost. So I want to see the young men of the next generation do what I'm telling my sons to do, and that is lead by example.
Awesome. Fantastic comments from you guys. And go ahead, Stu.
Okay. I would, to answer the question, it would be knowledge of self and self-determination. And everybody's going to have to get there on their, according to their own standards. Know yourself, know what your goals are, and know that you don't need to necessarily get there by yourself. Stephen said it perfectly. Surround yourself with a village of people who are going to challenge you and hold you accountable. And the next generation is going to be fine. As long as they don't get sucked into the falseness of everybody online can be who they want to be, and they don't need to do that to try to impress anybody. Work on knowledge of self, having self-determination, and more importantly, be a critical thinker.
Yeah.
So you can weed out a lot of the BS and a lot of the fake and the fraud that's out there. And if you critically think, man, that filter will allow you to sort through a lot of the stuff that you see online that appears to be real, but it's not real at all. So critical thinking is something that I hone in on to not just the younger generation, our generation and the older generation, because older people always talk about what younger people aren't doing, but I see a lot of people our age and older not critically thinking.
No doubt.
So that's how I would answer that question.
I think Tio, you're the last one, right, Tio? Come on.
Man, to add on to that, man, is a blessing and a privilege because, man, like I went to a high school basketball game last night with my youngest son. He's 11, and just, you know, perfect seats right in the middle, looking at both sides of the court. And I was like, man, these young fellas don't play like we played, man. Everybody out here wants to be Stephen Curry. You know, 6, 7 guys pulling 3-pointers and all of that. But man, looking at my young son, I told him, I said, but you know what? Seasons change, you know, and a lot of times we see the younger people mimicking what they see, which goes back to what Brother Steve just said, man. Like, we have to be the example, man. You know, and I'm just being honest with you, gentlemen. You know, everything can sound so good, but I'm a black man, and I can promise you, in some of the areas in which I frequent, man, these young people are hurting, man. And it ain't about getting emotional. I know we're about to get up off this joint, but man, I feel a duty to do anything by any means necessary to position myself in the thick of it to help. How can I help? You know, so again, man, I think this form is what where really dang on hits the mark. You know, we're diverse, we're different backgrounds, we're from different places. You know, and I leave it by saying, man, we're 2 or 3 together. Brother Steve Miller, bro, we're 2 or 3 together. When we come together, and somebody was blessed today. I saw my family, Relly Warner. Shout out to Relly Warner. He's going to take what he saw today and he's going to go implement. I think, man, all the talk is one thing. Implementation is everything, brother.
No doubt.
After Brent finishes up with us, we're going to end the show with some of the comments of your friends and people who are chiming in so you can hear how this episode bless somebody. So Brent, real quick, you can go ahead and chime in there. And then we'll go to the comments. Then we go ahead and close out. Go ahead.
The answer to strength is humility.
No doubt.
For this generation and for every generation to come, if we start at a place of humility, that is where strength starts. It's when we can be honest with ourselves and be humble and say, I have room to be better, so therefore I should try and be better. That's where strength grows.
Thank you, sir. Good stuff. All right. Lee Freeberg, Miyamoto Musashi said that a man should feel his emotions but not obey them. Your boy Terrell Warner says, great conversation backed by real thoughts. Definitely appreciate it. Keep God first and keep becoming a better you daily. I love it. Byron says, by building emotional maturity and spiritual depth in young men, we prepare the next generation to lead with strength, character, and wisdom. That's my spiritual son, y'all. Love that. Dr. B said, love it, having 16 grandkids. Man, you get the trophy. Ain't nobody gonna beat you, man. This contest is over. I'm talking about you the one, man. Congratulations, man. Lee Freeberg, I know he's an Army man. He wants to know if you were a Marine. So I saw the hat, but I don't know why Lee asked that question. But I love Lee, and it's all good. So okay. I shouldn't even mention the Army because now look what you guys are doing. You guys are being petty now. He's in the Army. Let him live. Okay. But anyway, thank you guys for watching and listening. For you guys on the panel today, this was a fantastic episode. I don't know where to even start. We do the post-production and clips and all that kind of stuff, man. But you guys are watching and listening for the first time and you haven't seen the show until now, upper right-hand corner of the screen is a QR code. That allows you to catch all of our shows. Of course, please jump to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/They Call Me Mr. U. You'll see all of the Men's Roundtable Series podcasts. And these handsome warriors right here, you see them on screen talking about real life men stuff. Love for you to jump in there and follow us, subscribe over there, and check out some of those episodes. And we're going to have this episode. It's going to be on all listening platforms within the hour. Excuse me. So beside that, man, you can find these guys. You can contact them in the chat if you want to check out their work. And almost all of them have podcasts. So if they don't, they will. So they got a lot of content, good stuff going on out there. And Lee Freeberg trying to miss this joke. Look here, Lee. I don't even know I don't know where you're going with this, but thank you. Thank you guys for watching, listening to the Men's Roundtable Series podcast. These boys are for real. We're men, and we are proud of it. God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for watching and listening.